Righto guys, welcome to Martin Motorsport, and this week we're going to just be in the shed. We're going to be working on the car a bit. We've got to take that motor out and change the flex plate. Well, we're hoping that's what the problem is, but just to start from the beginning, you might have seen in the last video where the motor was making a bit of a banging noise when we got it back from Mildura and after Sam had washed it. And we thought we'd probably done a big end or something, weren't too sure. As we checked it all, we ended up finding that the engine mounts in here were snapped and bolts missing out the other side. So we thought that was just the problem, the motor wobbling a bit, and maybe the ring gear or the flexi plate might have been rubbing on the dirt shield. So we got that all put back together last Thursday. We were supposed to be racing on Saturday at Murray Bridge. So Sam went off to footy practice while I put a couple of things back together on it and started it up, and it still had the same noise. So I ended up, Sam came back after footy practice. He was on his way to work because they're flat out seeding at the moment on the farm. But he came back just to see what was happening and make a decision what we were going to do. And I talked to a few people. They said it could be the flex plate, and back last week I had no idea what all that was about. So we didn't have an engine hoist here or a crane, and we didn't have an endless chain either to use the roof, so it was all getting a bit late. So Sam had to make a decision what he was going to do, and he still had a chance to play footy. So he's fairly big into his footy. He's a life member at the Tailormen Football Club and plays in the A grade, but he would have preferred to be racing. So he had a few sponsors that were going to go last Saturday, and that was going to be our last meeting. So we're going to try and have a good one there. And we even had a tyre here sponsored from a farming mate of Sam's, or us, David Kerr, and he's usually there each week, but we ended up pulling out because we just weren't too sure what was going on. So I ended up going on Saturday night and having a bit of a look, and much to my disappointment saw Brett Ireland go out for about his third race meeting for the season and whipped everyone's ass. He was flying. Had a bit of a talk with Brett, and his car was making a bit of a funny noise towards the end, and go down in the pits, he says to me, "Is this the noise Sam's car's making?" And it was pretty bloody close, and he just said, "Well, that's a flex plate, the crack." So if we had known all of that back then and had the gear, we probably could have got it done pretty easily, but we just weren't too sure. Just going to show you what the flex plate is. So that's it there, and it's got these holes all the way around it, and I think it cracks in between those holes. So we'll find out soon. So we're going to take that motor out. So a bit disappointing missing out on Murray Bridge. If we had known what we know now, we probably would have got it all done fairly easily. We disconnected everything down here just so we could start it up, just in case it was the uni joint making a funny noise. So all we got to do now, take the motor out, and fingers crossed it is that flex plate. So I'm going to have a fiddle around now. I'm going to put the camera on time lapse if I can work out how to do it. So hopefully I don't bend over too many times and you see the crack in my bum. But we should have the engine crane tomorrow. Sam's got a mate with one. But so just for now, I'm going to drain the radiator, get the radiator out, probably move that battery out the way, take the exhaust off, disconnect the electrics, take the air cleaner off, and it should be ready to pop out then. There's only about 4 or 5, 6 bolts back in here on the engine mount, engine plate, or whatever they call it, and we should be able to just pop that engine up, take it forward. Hopefully that flexi plate is stuffed, unbolt it, and put the other one on it and put it back. So like I said, if we knew what we were doing, it's probably only about a 2-hour job, but being our first time taking the motor out, there's going to be lots of little things we forget or stuff up. So we're just going to take it easy so we can learn a bit, so we're right for next time. And hopefully it's all ready to get to Horsham in a couple of weeks' time. So that's going to be our last meeting if the flex plate is the problem. If it's the engine, well, we're finished for the season now. But we want to head to Horsham on the 13th. Sam's got family over that way on his mother's side, so they want to catch up and maybe go and watch him have a race. So basically what we're going to do now is disconnect everything. Not too sure what I'm doing, but we'll work it out as I go along. So we need to disconnect the electrics, which I think will just be up in here. That can all stay on, which means the plugs can stay on because they're hooked up there. We'll take the injectors out, pull them out, make sure we keep them in the right order or mark them so we know which ones they are. Don't want to get the timing out. We'll take the air cleaner off, we'll take the exhaust manifolds off. The engine chain, which has kindly been lent to us from none other than Michael Pitcher Racing, who lends us everything. That'll bolt into the exhaust bolts there, and one on the back right, and that'll be hooked up to the crane so we can just lift it up. Obviously undo the engine mounts, get all that exhaust off, drain the water, get this out the way, the radiator out the way, and then I reckon we're pretty ready to go. Okay, well there's the flex plate, and I can't actually see a problem with it at the moment. I was hoping there'd be a big crack in between those holes somewhere, but we'll get it off and so we can check it properly. If it's not that, it's probably a big end. Righto guys, we're happy. I know, can you just run your finger along it, Sam? So it's cracked all the way around there. I'll try and get in a bit closer. around the edges there. So glad to see that. Doesn't show up quite as much there, but it's
right, mate.
All the way around. And I'll show you in a minute where it's been hitting on the engine plate.
It doesn't really look like much, but this little mark here is where it's been hitting, and if I run my finger across it, it's reasonably deep, so that would have been a pretty loud noise at hitting on that, I reckon. So hopefully that's all it is.
So pretty happy to find those cracks. So we'll order another one. There's a special one that they order through William Caruso that's supposed to be a bit stronger, so we'll get one of those ordered. And while we're here, we'll just check out this job that Steve Johnson did on our mounting brackets there. He welded them all up. So want any work done? Steve Johnson, Elite Fab Works, does a lot of work for the drift guys, and very good welder, so thanks Steve. And now we're happy. We just got to order a flex plate, and we'll be ready to go. And yeah, sorry, we're getting that from Ty Bills. So yeah, William Crusoe, Ty Bills has got some that are a bit stronger and should last longer. So we will leave that old one on that other motor we got there and order another one and get it in next week. So we might keep filming when we try and put it back together. So first time we've had the engine out, so we're a little bit all over the place, but we're learning a bit each time we have a crack at something. So we'll catch you when we're putting it back in. Okay guys, it's about a week later than when we were taking the motor out, and the reason is we decided to get another flexi plate or flex plate. We got one from William Caruso at Ty Bills because we heard they were a little bit stronger, so we thought we'd give it a go. Still got the one on the other old motor for an emergency, so I'm going to bolt that all in now. No use filming that, and then we'll swing it around, and hopefully we might try and get it in tonight. We'll see what happens. Sam's out on the farm seeding. It's about, I don't know, 9 o'clock at night. He's been getting home about midnight, 1 o'clock, so we'll see if I'm still up to give him a hand. So it should be fairly simple. Probably the hardest bit's going to be when we put the we'll bolt this shaft back on, which we need to get out. So that's usually the hardest part, when that's bolted back on the motor, and you slide the motor back in to get this and that to line up as you slide the motor back in. So I think that made sense, but I'm going to get to it now and get that flywheel back on, and then we'll see what happens after that. Righto guys, got the motor back in. We didn't film putting it back in, probably because we're pretty rough at it, but it all went in pretty good. A couple little things we got wrong, but learnt from it. So I think we've got everything connected up now, and we'll just open the door so we can let the fumes out. Fingers crossed there's no clunking noises. So we'll be back in a second with a start up. Okay, here we go. And flat battery. We're pretty good at this shit, aren't we? We got the booster pack in my van. We'll be back in a minute.
Just turn the switch on again before you do it, so it pumps fuel in it.
Okay, here we go, attempt number 2. We're going to have to wait for a bit of fuel to get into it. Maybe we go to attempt number 3. Attempt number 3. Turned off again. Was that on? Back to attempt number 4 in a minute.
Because you're taking too fucking long.
Just got told off, I think, guys.